your source for everything paranormal. Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Merry meet everyone, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron's Master Class. I see the professor is walking up to the podium. So, take a seat, get comfortable. The class is ready to begin.
And merry meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron's Masterclass. Our teacher for tonight is Philip Earl Johnson, and the subject is laughter. And that's something we need these days because there isn't a whole lot of things to laugh about. They say that laughter is a strong medicine, so we're going to have fun tonight. Whether it's a grin or a giggle or a snort, this is what we're here for. So Philip is a proud ensemble member of American Blues Theater. He's worked around the country as an actor and comedian for the last 40 years. His show, Mooney the Magnificent, Juggler, Rope Walker, and Foolish Mortal, has been performed over 11,000 times at festivals, theaters, comedy clubs all over the last 34 years, and it was voted the #1 comedy act nationally at Renaissance Festival 6 times. He's also a Jeff Award-winning actor, and he's been seen on many Chicago stages and television and film credits as well. And he's happiest, yes, when he's live on stage. And since we're live, comments and questions are welcome for those in the chat room. And if you're not here yet and you want to be, join us at paraxradionetwork.com. All right, Philip, step up to the podium. How are you?
Rap. The professor is in the house. Time to get schooled on comedy. I wish that were true. I would take my own class if I knew I had anything actually valuable to say. All I could say is that's what I do for a living. And the thing about comedy is like, to me, is like, it's black and white, unlike drama, like a serious play. Comedy, either they're laughing or they're not. And if they're not laughing, then you're not going to be doing shows for very long, It's all about whether it actually works or not. That's what is, comedy has its own reward system built in. And it is a fickle goddess that can turn on you on a dime. So you can't take it too seriously if it doesn't work at a particular moment. But you got to go with what's actually happening when it's going on.
Yeah, and it's trial and error, and as I'm sure when you were just beginning, you were kind of like, okay, am I doing it right? And making sure that you are, but it's a way to solve the problem is to keep doing it and make it right, and you do make it right for sure.
That's right. It's failure. There is no greater teacher. Like when I first got my chance to do my own show, the guy said, you should do your own show. I said, I don't have a show. So it's okay. I'll pay you this much. You go out and do it. And if somebody offers to pay you money to fail, take that job. Like that is someone who sees something in you that you may not see yourself. That failure is absolutely the best teacher that you could possibly have. And when you're doing comedy, you're going to fail a lot in the beginning. So I almost everything I do. I do verbal comedy, and I've been working on that for about 8 years, and I had no idea how even to approach that. I just started trying to do it. You just gotta step out there and go at it and let the chips fall where they may, because it doesn't really matter whether you're funny or not. What matters is if you're telling the truth. If you tell the truth, there's nothing funnier than the truth. The truth is going to come around to comedy eventually. You just have to listen to the audience. The audience will tell you what's funny every time.
Exactly. And well, I was nosing around about laughing with my good friend Google just to see what they had to say, or he had to say, or it had to say, whatever. But I found several reputable sources like the Mayo Clinic and National Institutes of Health that says laughter is strong medicine, that it draws people together in ways that trigger healthy physical, emotional changes and a lot of stuff. There's no copay and deductible that people have to go through. So it's kind of a magical thing, isn't it?
It is. There is a tiny bit of magic to it. It doesn't really, there's no quantifiable statistic. There isn't, you can't run your blood work on it. Were there enough laughs today? Let's check their blood work. No, that doesn't work that way. But there's a very successful program in hospitals in Chicago and New York called the Big Apple Circus Clown Care Unit. And those comedians and clowns go into kids' rooms and keep them laughing. And it's been going on for a long, long, long time. So there must be some direct therapeutic benefit for that. But people wouldn't come to the festivals that I work at and keep coming to the show if they weren't looking for the medicine. It's medicine. It makes them feel good. I make them laugh. My goal is to make them laugh till they pee. I used to check. My initially, well, not initially because I wasn't very good in the beginning, but once I started getting good, you're on benches and stuff out there, so you go out and you see how many ladies out there who have kids, and then you go out and you check the wet spots on the benches to see it, because they can't hold their pee as well anymore. So if it was like a 7 wet spot show, that was a hell of a show. If you could get 7 ladies to, release their bladders, there's no better compliment than you take over the mothership. Like stuff starts coming out of people's nose, coming out of the bottom end. I mean, that's what comedy's about. Just making people lose their shit.
Next time I'm there, I'm going to have a towel to sit on. Just saying. Yeah, I'm not worried about splinters.
I wasn't pointing fingers at you, Marla. I don't know.
No. For somebody else's, maybe too. That's how it goes. I mean, you don't spray them after they get up anyway.
I sure do not. No.
Uh-huh.
So there's no way to quantify it. There's no way to know. Yeah, to me, the greatest. People say, "Oh, I've been watching your show since I was 13, and now I'm 30." And which, besides the fact that says I'm old, well, I already knew that anyway, so it's no big deal. But what that says to me is that they come back every year. And I always say that's the best compliment I could possibly get. They saw the show, they laughed so hard that it left a physical sensation inside them, and then they came back because they wanted to get that again.
You're addictive.
They wanted that feeling that you leave inside of people's bodies. It's a physical sensation. Laughter is hard work, especially if you're good. If you're good and you got the laughs coming rapid fire, people get tired. So even though my show is about 35 minutes long, I have to build in some breaks to give people a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
I know that sounds self-congratulatory, but it's just practicality.
No, and it's true.
If people are laughing so hard for 15 solid minutes, they will thank you for a break. and then they'll come right back. But you got to give them a little bit of a break.
Mm-hmm. See, you know all this stuff that people don't even think about, and this is good. Let's talk about the types of laughter in a sense, because there's nervous laughter, there's stress-relieving laughter, there's belly laughter, to name a few. My favorite type is the unexpected laughter. Like, for instance, the other day I was talking to our friend Sam Miller on the phone, and we were talking about ideas that maybe we should be talking about on this show. And out of the blue, she says, well, maybe he should do it in whistles. Now, I got that, and I could not stop laughing. And we'll explain the whistle thing in a moment. But I couldn't stop laughing. It struck me so funny. It was just kind of, tongue-in-cheek, I guess, but it worked. And it got spontaneous laughter then because she joined in. And, just simple things can make people laugh so well. And I think those kinds of things, I think the uncontrollable kind are my favorite, the ones that you don't cry, don't laugh in church. But here's a question from the chat room that ties right in. What makes you laugh, and how does it make you feel?
And that's a question for me.
Yes.
Things that make me laugh are similar to what we were just talking about. Things that are unexpected. Things that I thought that I knew the score, and then somebody turns it on me. But that's what my show is built on. And that's what comedy, that's what setup punchline is built on that. You set up one thing, and then you turn a corner, or you pull the rug out from somebody, and it's something completely different. And that's the stuff that makes me laugh, is when I don't actually have an expectation for what happened. And we may not realize this, but there are tropes, there are storylines, there are jokes that are repeated in different forms ad nauseum culturally in films, on the news, whatever. People appropriate certain things, and then they become part of the sort of cultural library that people refer to easily. They become a cliche. And those things don't make me laugh because I could see it coming. But if somebody does something that I'm not ready for, that cracks me up, like I love it when they get me, the audience, and there's thousands of them. There's tens of thousands of these people every day that I'm in the middle of. So they're flowing by me. And when I'm working, I do festivals, and people are flowing by me, and I stand up on a sawhorse, right? Mm-hmm. And I just wing out stuff at people, like different, regardless, like I'm looking for little tidbits of them. I'm just trying to get them to pay attention to me, really. I'm not trying to get them to come to my show. Either they like me or they don't already. I've been doing it so long, whatever. But I'm just trying to, remind them that I'm not dead, because I'm 60 now. So, but I see this. I got this joke that, you get a new one and you're like, I want to try this one out. So I've got this Gandalf joke, right? I see people come dressed as Gandalf fairly often to the Renaissance Fair. I'm doing shows in Oregon right now. Last weekend, there were 4 Gandalfs at one show. So we had a Gandalf convention. I brought them all up right in front of the stage, and we posed, and we did a Gandalf move. It was fun. But I see a Gandalf coming, and I say, hey, Gandalf, thanks so much for saving the earth. Well, the middle part. Nobody cared about the edges anyway, right? So that's funny, gets a laugh, but there's not enough Gandalfs I don't get to say it enough. So I was like, hey, what if I see a Frodo? I can have him tell Gandalf, right? So I see this is after a joust, so that's like literally 6,000 people are flowing past me in a fairly tight area, and I see a Frodo coming at me, and I say, hey, Frodo, blah, 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 and then tell Gandalf over me. And then a guy who's like 4 people behind him, they're packed like sardines. It's unbelievable how tight these people are packed in. A guy's not even with that guy. He looks at me and goes, that's not Frodo. Frodo has a different hat. Like, I'm like, okay, you got me. Like, only at a Ren Fair, right? I mean, you cannot get Tolkien wrong at a Ren Fair. He's their Jesus, So it's stuff like that gets me. Like when I was totally not expecting it. I was doing the joke on them, and they did the joke on me, which was awesome.
Yeah, and I've seen somebody in the audience, like you'll pick out somebody before you turn into a Mooney, and you look at those person, and I think there was one that guy was not looking, paying attention. He went behind the curtain and came back, and he was talking to somebody, and you walked right up into the audience, and you started to talk to him and say, I'll do it over and over and over again until you get it straight, and then you went back, you came back out as supposedly as Mooney, and he didn't do it, and you just it was going back and forth, and it was really funny, and
that's a bit. I'll do it over and over till they. So, and it's not really about getting the guy to make a noise or clap. It's just it's funny to say to draw a line in the sand about something stupid. That's what's funny. It's not fun. I don't really care whether he actually does it. But once you draw the line in the sand about what the bit is, you can't surrender the bit without the bit going forward, because then you didn't commit to it. And that's what comedy's all about. You set up the parameters, and then you have to stick with those parameters. Otherwise, people don't trust you. They don't take you seriously. The most important word for me about comedy is wonder. Wonder. They got to wonder if they're safe. They got to wonder what the hell's going on. They got to wonder. They got to feel wonder, like, oh, that was an amazing thing that he did, and then they should feel wonderful at the end. Wonder is a little bit of a magical word too, because you can't really fully quantify it. There's no way to gauge it, how big the wonder is. But if you can get everyone to be in that space of wonder at the same time, that's the kind of magic I'm looking for sure. Every show. And I do not give it up. I don't give it up. Like, I'm going to fight for it every single show.
And it pays off. Now, you make people laugh in many ways on stage, comedy clubs and the like. But there's a great segue into explaining the whistle reference of what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, because some people don't know Mooney, the Renaissance Faire, and you'll think he's a stand-up or whatever he's doing, but he's not up on stage throwing out one-liners. I mean, as we said, he's mute, sort of. But he's got an amazing whistle vocabulary. And for those who may not have seen the show, explain a little bit about who Mooney is and how he came to be.
Well, I started as a talking guy within the first 200 shows of where I was failing. And then I had seen some other guys and some other comedians not talk. I'm like, yeah, I bet I could do that. Let's try that. Let's stop talking. Let's simplify it. And then it worked. I basically, that was the turning point of like, oh, this is how I'm funny. Like, you got to find out how you're funny, right? Mm-hmm. I got to start for that in a minute, but I'll stay focused on this idea of how I got started. Once I decided that I wasn't going to talk, then everything that happened after that was a natural evolution of material, style, delivery, commitment, costuming, show length. Everything that came afterwards was a matter of practical discovery in the moment of, yeah, this will work or this won't work, and then tinkering. It was the deciding not to talk that that sent me in the direction that I am and have been going on for now 35 years. And it it helps with that sense of wonder, because you've got this clown who doesn't talk, and I do tricks. I juggle ping pong balls with my mouth. I have a long routine with a baseball cap that I juggle the cap and do all kinds of tricks with it, and the tricks aren't really that interesting. It's all set up. There's all jokes within it, and then sort of the accomplishing of the trick at the end is a bit of that's what we're working towards. That's the punchline, and all the bits are worked around some sort of physical stunt. I walked on a tightrope for 31 years. I still am going to do it this year at the Bristol Renaissance Fair. It's the only place I do it anymore because I'm 60 and I don't want to be afraid anymore. I can still do it. I just don't want to be afraid. I guess,
Yeah.
You're up on a tightrope, you're walking, you're 60, you make one wrong move. That could be your last show. And I don't want to be thinking that every time I go out on the stage. Right.
Well, especially with you have the fire things that you juggle at the same time on the rope.
Yeah. That's a misconception. A lot of people think that the fire is dangerous. It actually is. And the only way it would be dangerous is if when I fell, I accidentally threw a torch into a toddler's stroller. That would be about the only time that the torch will be fired. I mean, just falling awkwardly on my hip. My hip. Some stupid old person thing, but I got to worry about that. So I stopped. In the beginning, when you start out, okay, they give you small stages because they don't know how good you are. They're like, well, let them learn. Give them a small stage. So people in a small stage, people are really close to you. So I would go to get them to move around because I didn't talk. And then they moved. Then I started getting good, and then they moved me to a bigger stage, and that still worked. Then they moved me to the biggest stage where there's 600 people 5 times a day, and it could be 800 if it's a really, really big show. And you got people that are pretty far away; they couldn't hear. So I learned how to whistle, and it was purely just a matter of, you gotta make them hear you. So I learned how to whistle, and then one time I was thinking words, and I was struggling to communicate what I wanted, and while I was whistling, and then the words that I was thinking, I whistled like in the same sort of pitch and cadence and rhythm, and it came out, and the audience understood it, and that was probably the second most important turning point in the show. Like, oh, this is a thing. So I could do like a whole monologue in the top of the show in whistles, and they can hear the words. And that is probably that's the number one question people ask me all the time. Well, how do you whistle? How do you whistle? And well, you just practice, I was 28. I was unmarried. What else was I doing? But it's whistle. I learned how to whistle. And it's this little magic moment where I implant words in people's brains, and it's like I violate them in the way that they go, oh my God, that was so much fun. I come violate me again, and I don't even touch them. I even use pretty adult language, and they all laugh. All the moms and dads and the kids don't laugh. They don't get it, but the parents laugh. And I'm using pretty adult language, but it's all whistle. So if they said, he whistled blobbity bloobity bloop, and I'm like, no, I didn't. That's what you heard.
Yeah,
but
shame on
you.
Yeah.
Shame on you. I was whistling, Yeah. But I mean, I am. So
I was very surprised when I saw your first show, and I was watching and listening, and I just knew what you were saying. And how does he do that? It takes talent, I guess, but yeah, it's a wonderful thing. You can say anything and not say anything and get away with it.
Right? I mean, I've been swearing for 30 years, or no, I'm not. I've been only whistling for about 25 years now. I've been whistling swear words for 25 years, and people all, young and old, laughing their head off. Lucky me. I do stuff all day long that I'd get arrested for at at the grocery store. But when you're a clown, you're not, it's nothing, none of it's serious. It's all meant as a send up about human behavior. And that the clown and the jester are given almost carte blanche to explore the limits of what they can get away with.
Mm-hmm.
And I take that very seriously. And that's an honor. I try not to abuse that. I ever.
It's just, just sitting there for 35 minutes or whatever it is, it makes everybody lighthearted. It just, we kind of know, what those of us who've seen the show several times, we know what's coming, but then we don't know what's coming because there's always going to be something a little different. It's because of the audience or somebody you're talking to or you do a little shtick something. And so, you just sit there and wait and see what's he going to do next. And that's really fun. That's part of it, I think.
You don't know what even if you know, I act like it's the first time. There's a lot of acting in the show.
Yeah.
I act as if it's the very first time that I do it every single time. And so if it's in the theater world, we call that the willing suspension of disbelief. And theater cannot exist without the willing suspense of disbelief, in that we know this isn't real, but we are going to go along with it as if it was real. And that's a very powerful convention. And that theater and comedians and films and televisions utilize every day to make stories come alive. And I do that in my show. Now, there's other comedians out there, and everybody gets to do their own show their own way.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't do it if it's the first time. They just do it. It doesn't matter whether it's the first time or the 100th time or the 1000th time. But to me, it matters because of the way my show is structured. Things are evolving against my will. That's what the clown is in the eternal struggle against himself and the universe and his environment or her environment. And their struggle to succeed is real. And in order for the audience to believe that, you have to do it as if it's never happened before.
Yeah.
And there is technique that is involved, but that's a lifetime of study. Like, that's just the things that you just acquire in your each paddle of the boat. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. Paddle the boat this way. Paddle the boat. Oh, okay. All right. That's how you get the canoe to go forward. I get it. Okay. So that's, just a matter of trying to do it and learning how to do it better and better and better over and over and over and over again, as if it's the first time, every time. And I think that's why. That is why people come back again, because it never happened before, and they believe it.
Yeah, and it's like you have a master's degree in ad lib as well. All of a sudden, boom, something comes up, and you don't even expect it, but there you go, and you just snap right into it.
Yeah, some of it's ad lib, and some of it seems like ad lib. You have to remember, I've been doing this 35 years. I've seen almost every shade of knucklehead, every brand, flavor, every sort of incarnation of knucklehead that is out there, and every single knucklehead behavior that comes my way, I've seen almost all of it, because I've done 11,000 shows. I had 11,000 people in this particular situation on stage with me. There's not that much new that I can see, but still it happens. It's amazing how every once in a while someone will come up with some brand new way of doing something. So like this happened like a couple of years ago for the first time. I smack a guy on the shoulder like I'm trying to get him to do like muscle guy, I smack him on the shoulder, and I'm trying to get him to smack me back and then do the muscle guy. But he doesn't know that. I didn't tell him to do that. So I'm smacking him on the shoulder and he just does muscle guy. So I smack him on the shoulder, and he just does muscle guy. And I want him to slap me and then do muscle guy. Because that's what I'm doing. I'm doing slap you, then muscle guy. So anyway, the guy, instead of slapping me, he turns to his right and slaps an imaginary guy to his right. And after like 4 or 5 times of not getting it, and he gets it, and he goes, and he smacks an imaginary guy to his right. I'm on his left. He smacks nobody and then does the muscle guy move. And it's like, okay, that's not what I was looking for, but it's a very legit interpretation of what you thought I was trying to do. So that was awesome. Every once in a while you get something new.
And that's a good place that we're going to stop for a minute because we got to take a break. So we'll be back, everybody. Sit tight, and we'll be back.
There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
Throughout time, events have occurred that have shaped human history. Spirit voices from the past have many stories to tell, and for the past several years, channelers Barry and Connie Strom have been conducting live channeling sessions and relaying those stories and messages from those on the other side. We invite you to tune in to Barry and Connie's new show, Channeling History, on the PowerX Radio Network every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern as they relay the messages of those voices from the past, the ones who have witnessed history firsthand, and those who have made history themselves.
Hey everyone, it's Marla. If you like tonight's episode of Stirring the Cauldron and the archive podcast as well, take a look at the show's YouTube channel and check out the dozens of shows that are there just waiting to be heard. New shows are added each week, and while you're there, why not subscribe? It's free. And if you click on that tiny little bell icon at the top of the page, you'll be notified when new shows are available. Just go to youtube.com and then type in Stirring the Cauldron Para X and the link will appear. Just like magic.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And your teacher tonight is Philip Earl Johnson, and we're talking about laughing, all kinds of laughing. And let me see, there was something I was going to talk about, and I just forgot for a minute. Oh, there it is. So I just have to say that whether it be the Ren Fair or the stage shows that you do, I've witnessed that whatever you are, people are smiling in anticipation before they even enter the place. And then it's like nonstop laughing throughout the whole show. So there was a question that came in, what do you yourself physically feel when you hear the audience honestly laughing?
Oh, it's not really funny for me. It's what that is feedback. You know, like we were talking earlier about the different kinds of laughter, whether it's a chortle or a snort or a titter, you know. But basically, I've been doing the same dance for 35 years. So I know how big each laugh usually is. There's no one true experience for each joke. But in general, there is a sort of a graph of laughter. If you were to plot the laughs out on a graph, and sorry, I got distracted. My son's a professional baseball player.
Yes.
He plays Double-A baseball in the Texas Rangers organization, and I just got a little banner that came down that said he hit a 2-run homer just now. So I was like, "Oh, look at that! That was awesome."
Good father. Good father.
So sorry about that.
No.
And it's the Frisco Rough Riders in Texas. If anyone wants to check them out, Cooper Johnson. So what I notice, what I feel is sort of like it's like a call to action. Every laugh, if a laugh is supposed to, let's just put it at a number. So like if this joke comes in at a 4 out of a 10 being the biggest laugh you could possibly get, where people are peeing their pants, and this laugh comes in at 4 regularly, but it comes in at a 3, then I have to go, why did that only come in at a 3? What's going on? Are they hot? Are they drunk? Is it late? Are they tired? Or are they tired because I've been hitting them too hard? Do I need to back off a little bit? So basically it's a dance. So I am playing, the music is the symphony, or I mean, the show is the symphony, and the audience, they're the dancers. So I have to be cognizant of whether I'm going too fast for them and I'm starting to lose them because they can't keep up. Because you can go too fast. Any comedian can go too fast, or you can go too slow. Your timing, it's all about the timing. So for me, when I feel the laughter coming at me, I don't get excited about. I mean, yes, I'm happy about it, but it's not like, oh my God, look at that, yeah. It's more like data that tells me, oh, we're right on track, or oh man, we got a hot audience here. We got a hot one, and let's see if we can keep, without damaging it, can we keep it all? If all the jokes along the graph, if this one's a 4, the next one's usually a 5. Like if this one comes in a 5 and the next one comes in at a 6, how can I keep them all above? Because that's a very exciting experience, but it's hard. It's hard to do because people get tired out. Like I said, the jokes are really packed in really tight in my show, so I can't push them too hard. So for me, it's all about, like I would say, if I was a horse, if I was a jockey, you're so tuned to the horse that how that horse is running. Like, no, I gotta hold that horse back, because I can't let him get too tired, because we've got a straightaway, at the finish that I need them to be there for that thing, because that's the meat of the show, the finale. You want them to crest out at the finale. That's what you want. And the show is built towards the finale. So for me, it's all data. It's all now it's a little different. That's from my show. Now I just did a show called No One Cares About Clown Pain. It was it was a theater show, but it was almost all comedy. A couple of more serious moments, but mostly all comedy. And that's all completely written. I do it like it's ad-libbed, but it's all written down. And I write jokes within the framework of a story that I've got, and I write jokes. And when I get a joke right, like when I tell, and usually they do work, most of the time, say 80-85% of the time, if it works, I get a little bit excited there, because I was like, yeah, I wrote something, and they laughed. That's so excellent. Like, it's not to the point where like, yeah, I knew that would happen. It's not like that. It's more like, yeah, yes, it worked. It worked. Especially because it's all new material. It was 80 minutes. I wrote a show 80 minutes, and it was pretty much constant laughs throughout the whole time, and I had never said it out loud before, and
wow.
All the laughs came right where I thought, and then some extras that I wasn't expecting. Like, that's great. I wish I knew why that was funny. Because I'd like to do it again, but I don't know why. I don't know why it was funny. It was like, yeah, I'll just take credit for it anyway.
It's always good. And on that vein, we just got a question for you. Shows must be exhausting. How do you recover?
They are exhausting, not only because I'm 60, but they've always been exhausting. I rest my mind in between. I'm in good shape. I stay in shape. I eat well. It's a physical experience because I juggle flaming torches on the tightrope or a rollabola, which is a board on a tube up high. The sawhorses are about 4 feet tall, 3.5 feet tall. And then, so my head is now, up to 8-9 feet tall. So I have to be in good enough shape to do all of the physical things that happen in my show. So being well prepared, staying hydrated, all of the things that are just sort of common sense health things I take care of during the week. And then in between shows, I try to just sit and rest and calm my mind, meditate a little bit. And you don't have to sleep. Sometimes I'll sleep for 5 minutes, but just meditating, that really helps rejuvenate my brain and get it ready to go again.
Mm-hmm. So when you're creating a new show, like No One Cares About Clown Pain, how do you do it? How do you start? You have a specific audience in mind, or just to pop up things in your head, or some kind of other criteria?
It's a great question, because I'm very specific about, because I have a lot of stories. I have a list of stories. Whenever I think of something stupid I did in my life, like, oh my God, yes, that. And then I write it, so I've got this encyclopedia of my stupidity on a note on my phone, right? So that is my database and my most important thing. So if I'm doing a show, I've got a show coming up, which is this particular kind of a show for a guy who's a fan of this kind of material of mine. He's graduating. He's getting his master's degree. So he wants me to come and do a show. And I'm like, well, what do you want it to be about? He's like, you pick. It's just, you choose. He wants it to be the verbal comedy, not the clown stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I pick based on who's going to be in that audience. So let's say No One Cares About Clown Pain. I did it in January, and I knew that almost everybody that was going to be there was going to already know me, and they were already going to like me. That means they all know Renaissance Fairs. So I wrote a lot of material about making fun of them at Renaissance Fairs, and it worked great. Now, it worked so great that I wanted to rewrite it, because I was like, okay, I wanted it to sound like a Netflix special where it was just 80 minutes of nonstop laughter, and that's what it was. But I wanted something a little richer, a little deeper. So this latest incarnation of it, which was over Memorial Day, I did 2 performances of it. I rewrote a lot of it. I cut a lot of that Renaissance Fair stuff, and I put in some more personal stuff about me, because I was doing it in a theater. So I wanted it to have a little bit more depth. It was still mostly comedy, but I wanted to explore some more serious topics. So stories that I choose and and it's not only the stories that I choose that make up a show that make it unique for that particular performance, but it's also the way that I wrote it. Because I could write every single one of my stories so that it's funny or not funny. And what I do when I start writing these shows is I pick the stories that I think are going to work. Sometimes there's some editing in and out, but let's say I choose the stories and then almost all of them stay in. And then I start writing them. And when I write it the first time, it's not funny at all. It's just basically plot. This is what happened in the story. And then I have to think about, well, what is the funny way of looking at this moment? And then I write a joke about that. And then it's all in the rewrite. So it's just constantly rewriting 80 minutes of material that I'm writing and then rewriting and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. And I never say it out loud. And then I go on outstage and I say it. And I've done about 5 or 6 of these shows like this in the last few years. And that's how they always go. I write them and I just keep rewriting. I don't memorize them. It's just in my head. However it comes out. And it's terrifying. It's terrifying. I am terrified every single time. And I have friends that I talk to that I'm like, this one's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work. I can't get it. I can't get it. So there's these moments of terror and doubt that I'm just not going to be able to do it. But I always do. It always does. And it always works. And that's the creative process is in comedy as well as it is in all forms of art. And the creative process is inherently hitched to our own feelings of insecurity, our own lack of self-worth, our own imposter syndromes. So all of these things are churning around as we're creating. Like, I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if is this worth my time? Like, and you fight yourself. You fight through it. No matter what I do, whether I'm doing a painting or a drawing or mosaic, or I'm writing a new show, or I'm in a play that I'm rehearsing, I go through it every single time, and it's just miserable. But then you come through it on the other side, and then it works, and you just have to trust yourself. You have to know that you chose to do this for a reason, and that reason is good enough just for that reason. It doesn't matter if anybody likes it or not. It's good enough. Mm-hmm. And that gets through.
When you come out on stage, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just got in my head and I might forget it. When you get out on stage, you've done it so many times. Can you tell what the audience is feeling right from the beginning? They may be really excited, or people are just kind of sitting there and they're not maybe going to be as happy as some of the other people. Can you tell that at all?
I can tell by the first laugh, like the very first time they laugh. I can tell by the quality of the laugh. I look and see how many people are out there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a small audience. Sometimes it's like 80 people. Sometimes it's 600. Sometimes I walk out on stage, no one says anything. Sometimes I walk out on stage and everybody starts cheering. Not everybody, but a lot,
Yeah.
So that it sounds like it's everybody. It's not like I keep track or anything. But, you come on out and they're there. They're going right away. Or sometimes you walk out and there's nothing. And then you start, I do a move that's funny, and it kind of gets a half laugh. Like, okay, we're slow. It's early. Or maybe it's the middle of the day and you're like, I don't know. This is this one. So I'm constantly gauging it, but I can't tell immediately. The best way, like when I come out on stage, is if they start cheering for me or not, like right away. It doesn't happen every show. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't keep track, whatever. So no, I don't know intrinsically. I don't get a feeling. The only kind of feeling, I bring audience members on stage, and that's the only little bit of like sort of actual magic, I think, because I think magic is, I'm friends with a number of witches, and it feels to me like intuition is about as close to real magic as anything is, and I have a strong intuition about who I pick and that feeling that I get inside. I wouldn't call it a voice, but it's a feeling that says yeah, and then I get that person. But I wait for that. I wait for that intuition, for that feeling to come and tell me who the person is. I don't pick in advance. I go out, and sometimes I can be looking around for 40 seconds or so. It's a long time to be turning people down, because I'm looking at people and I'm like, no. 40 seconds of turning people down, it gets heavy. I want to right away. But 40 seconds of you suck. No, they don't suck, but like, you're not the one, So it feels negative, but it's not really negative, but it gets onerous after a long time.
It's kind of amazing. And then there's some people that kind of heckle a little bit, not never bad, but you're really quick on that. You're really good, and it just makes a good comic. I don't, since I don't talk, if somebody says, then, what I have already, and every comedian does, essentially, until they blow it by being not good or having their, misstep in gauging who the audience is, whatever. The audience is on the performer's side right away. But you can lose them instantly by not being in tune with them. So that if someone, the audience is already on my side, and after 35 years, I'm pretty good at not losing them, right? So, and a lot of them have already seen me before, so they're already fans. So when if you have the audience on your side and somebody says something stupid, and I don't mean stupid as in like, oh my God, you're an idiot, just like, it just sounds stupid because they talked when it wasn't really their turn, right? And then all I have to do is give them a look, and it depends on what they said, what that look is going to be, and then the audience laughs because I'm just giving the look that is inside their head, what they're feeling about that person. And so that's what's funny, is I'm just telling the truth. Like, I'm just physically manifesting what you are already feeling about this knucklehead. And I don't have to say anything. All I have to do is give a look. It's great. Yeah. What's not great is time goes really fast during an hour. So we just have a few minutes left. Where can people find you? Talk about some upcoming things in the future, live shows or whatever, and social media, find out more.
Sure. Well, I have one more weekend here at the Oregon Renaissance Festival, which is in Canby, 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 Oregon, which is really close to Portland, but it's so far away because of the way Portland is set up with rivers. So you just can't walk here. It's weird the way it is. But anyway, sort of like Brigadoon. I'm over this bridge, and you're like, oh, look, there's a town. So that's one more weekend, and then I got a couple weekends off to go see my son play baseball in Texas, and then the Bristol Renaissance Faire for 9 weekends, which is on the Cheddar Curtain, right on the state line of Wisconsin and Illinois, and that's you can see it from the highway on I-90, 94. And then after that, it's 8 weekends in Ohio, in between Cincinnati and Dayton. But if you were to travel, but on a daily basis, I look through people's windows all the time. So I might be outside your house looking in. So just look out your window and, wave.
And you can whistle back, right?
Yeah, whistle. If you have ping pong balls, I'll pop ping pong balls out of my mouth.
You do that very well. That's one of your best bits, especially when you lose the ping pong ball into the audience. But I will say no more. People should go and listen and get you and find out for themselves. Social media, where are you?
Oh yeah, I just started I try to be more annoying on Instagram. That is Mooney Clown. It's all one word. Mooney is Moonie, not EY. So Moonie Clown. And that's Instagram. And then on X, I don't know. I don't even hardly go on that anymore. It's such a morass. And then Facebook is my name, Philip Earl Johnson, with one L, Philip Earl Johnson. And that's how you find out, because I post about the stuff that's upcoming on those things a lot. That's the best way. Mostly it's Renaissance Faire, since I just did this other show. But I'm thinking I might do the Clown Paint show again, maybe sometime in August somewhere, just so I can promote it at the Bristol Fair, and people who didn't get a chance to see it over Memorial Day, which was a holiday weekend. So did a couple shows and still had half the tickets available. So I know there's a lot of people that wanted to come but couldn't. So I might do it then. So check out Instagram and Facebook for information on where we'll be immediately.
But I want to thank you for sharing a smile or a giggle or two this evening, making people happy. And it's also important to thank everybody that came in to listen. The chat room was very full this week, and that's a good thing. And so we're going to get the heck out of here. And so everybody, until next time, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Stirring the Cauldrons Masterclass. Please join us at the same time for another great class and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2024. The Holiday Weasel by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.